Welcome in, everyone. I'm Alex Views, and you are listening to the 06010 ESPN Communications podcast. We are joined with one of the newest MLB ESPN writers, Jorge Castillo. Jorge, thanks so much for joining the ESPN Communications podcast today. Walk me through. You said when you first got here that you were a fan of everything ESPN growing up. How much does it mean to you to now work where you used to love watching and reading all the work from ESPN?
Yeah, I mean, it's still surreal. It's been a couple weeks and it still feels like, it's not really happening quite yet. I grew up consuming, like I said, everything ESPN. It was a running joke in my family, with my immediate family, extended family. It was an obsession. I would even say borderline. It was pretty obsessive. Just my love for sports and playing them and consuming them in different ways. And obviously growing up, ESPN was the king, so the worldwide leader, right, back in the day. So yeah, it's still surreal a couple of weeks later, and I'm super excited for the opportunity.
What does it mean to you just to work with all the great talent on the baseball side here at ESPN and learn from them as well as you're kind of coming in and covering the New York market?
Yeah, the talent, the baseball group here is amazing. I've gotten to know some of these guys over the years, really well here. I'm still in Los Angeles. I'm going to be moving to New York, but here in Los Angeles, Alden Gonzalez is a friend I've made over the years in my time here working with him. Jeff Passan, I've known over the years. Jeff is he's the top of the top right now at this in the baseball world. So Buster Olney and Jesse Rogers, Kylie McDaniel. Just, it's a great team from the editors on down. So I've already learned a lot. They've been super welcoming, and I just feel like we're going to be able to do great work here as a group.
Now you started covering baseball and then you went to the Washington, D.C. area, covered some NBA, and then you went out to L.A. to cover baseball. And now obviously you're at ESPN covering baseball in the New York market and then at a national level. What was kind of your mindset? Okay, baseball, then NBA, then back to baseball. How much has that helped you kind of grow as a reporter?
It helped a lot. It's not what I really wanted to do. I think just out of college, I was covering the NFL for a year and a half, and I just wanted a job. It was hard to find a job at that time in this business. It's not gotten easier, but out of college, just I had some internship experience at different places. I worked at the Star Ledger covering the New York Giants, as sort of their backup New York Giants writer. And then from there is when I went to Washington, D.C., worked at the Washington Post initially to cover the Wizards. It was just an opportunity that came up. I love the NBA, and I said, heck yeah, I'd love to go to DC at the Washington Post, where I was an intern before, and cover the NBA. And I did that for 2 seasons, and I absolutely loved it. I loved covering the NBA. It was such a great experience, getting to do that. But then an opening came up to cover the Nationals, and just my previous experience, because I had done the New York Giants for a year and a half, and then I did the Mets for a year, and then the Yankees for 8 months at the Star Ledger. Being able to speaking Spanish, having my background, just loving baseball the way I do. I transitioned over to the Nationals, did that for 2 years, and then the Los Angeles Times came calling with an opportunity to cover the Dodgers. In Los Angeles, huge market. The team at that point had just been coming off of, that 7-game series loss to the Houston Astros in the World Series. They were a yearly, contender, World Series contender. So it was just a great opportunity, and I moved across the country and did that. So it's been bouncing around different markets, different sports, different papers, publications. So all that I think has just really helped me in different ways. Challenges that come up that surface at every point. Having to figure out how to transition to different groups of people that you're covering, different companies, figuring things out, finding your way in a new place. I think it's very difficult. It comes with time, but I think I've learned over the years how to do that, to be patient, and to do my job effectively at every stop.
You mentioned when you were in college, you always wanted to do this. When you were in college, what was your dream job? Like, if you could say, okay, after graduation, this is what I want to do, what would you have said?
Well, yeah, at the time, so I interned at the New York Times out of college. I was lucky enough to get one of those summer internships in sports. And that's kind of like where I wanted to be, with the New York Times. I love the way they did stuff. At that point, like, I wasn't sure about like a place like ESPN because I wasn't sure how they were going to cover things. ESPN New York had popped up and ESPN LA and things like that. I thought I wanted to initially, get back to the New York Times, at least to start. That was sort of my goal, my first main goal. It takes a lot of work to go to a place like that, and I understood that. So I bounced around. Obviously, the New York Times sports section doesn't really exist anymore. So the Athletics there now. So and over time, my goals changed. I decided, here in the last few years that I kind of really just wanted to focus on baseball. I really want to get going here on, breaking news, transactional stuff, and just writing good features and all that and combining all that. And I think really over the last year or two, it's like, talking to my wife, it's like, all right, so where can I go? And ESPN was at the top of the list. It's not, I'm not just saying that just because I got the job here and I'm here talking to you.
Right.
That's really the way it was, a place that was steady in this sort of media environment that's very, very scary for someone looking to, progress with his career. This was the place. And to get that call was really just an amazing blessing. So this is a place I think over time as the media landscape kind of changes, your goals have to change. Your how you view yourself has to change. How you view the job changes. This isn't like a hey, I want to be a doctor and then I want to go here and 10 years ago, like TikTok didn't exist when I got out of, when I was out of school. TikTok and Instagram and Twitter was still big, but like how we do things has changed so much in my time since out of college. And I think with that, so have my goals.
Just going off of that, the multi-platform for reporters is just so vastly different from 5, 10 years ago. When you first got here, for example, in your first 2 weeks, you were doing a hit on a spring training broadcast, Yankees Mets. How much does that go in? Yes, you still have to be a great writer, but how much media goes into it now being on multi-platforms in different areas where you have to do, your articles, but then also radio and TV hits as well, and then obviously during an in-game broadcast.
Yeah, that's something that I quite frankly do not have a ton of experience in. I've done TV hits, I've gone to studios and done shows and over the years, but I've never done it consistently. And um, I think it's very important to do that consistently. I think it's people nowadays, especially younger people, consume their news not necessarily, they don't really go to, I mean, of course, they don't go to the newspaper anymore, right? They barely go to the apps to like, to read their news. What they're doing is they're on social media, either getting it on, via tweets or Instagram messages or Instagram videos or, alerts they get from ESPN or whatever other company. They consume news so differently. So I think what we need to do, speaking for myself, is meet people where they are in different ways. Obviously, writing is my forte. It's what I've done for, my career, and it's something I love doing and I want to continue doing. But having the opportunity to hop on that broadcast that day, do TV hits here in the future, hop on the radio, a podcast. People, get their baseball news and other news in different ways. So I think being able to do that to show that I can do it is very important. And just doing a good job for the company, right? But very important for me personally as well as I grow into, a so faceted reporter. And with reps, I hope to get better, right? It's not going to be the beginning is not going to be too pretty probably, but as I get better with more reps, I think it's gonna be better for my career, and I think obviously for the company giving me the opportunity.
We'll switch gears. You mentioned earlier that your parents are from Puerto Rico and that nearly 30% of Major League Baseball is of Latino descent. How much does that help you being a bilingual reporter and helping when you enter a clubhouse and building those relationships with the players, asking questions and building relationships? How much does that help you as a reporter?
It helps tremendously, and it's a reason why I think I've decided to stick. No, it's one of the reasons why I've decided to stick in baseball and covering baseball and not going back to maybe the NBA, which I love, but that advantage does not exist like it does in baseball, obviously. And I think what happens is you go into a clubhouse. I think guys at first don't really think I know Spanish because the assumption is that someone like me or looks like me is like, oh, this guy. And the way I present myself, I'm a reporter. These guys all kind of assume that the reporters don't speak their language. And when I go up to them and I speak to them, I can tell that they're at ease a lot easier, like a lot quicker. I think about my family, I think about my parents, how much more they're comfortable speaking their language. When I go to Puerto Rico, I speak to them as everyone in Spanish. It's like people are just more comfortable communicating and how they know how to communicate, especially with someone like me. I'm a reporter, right? You come in and like they might be scared or say something that's like not quite what they want to say, or they can't express themselves how exactly they want to. And obviously, these guys have interpreters, but I think they're just more comfortable speaking to the person directly in their language. And I think over the years, it's helped me tremendously at every stop in baseball. I've gotten to know guys I think a little better than the average person, than most people in that clubhouse because I can't speak their language. Um, and it's also just it's not language. It's not just language. It's culture. I think I would be a very different reporter covering soccer, right? Where a lot of these guys are South American, some are from Spain, that speak Spanish. It's very different than a Puerto Rican or Cuban or Dominican or a Venezuelan or a Colombian, which is more of a Caribbean feel. Similar words. Now, every country has their own words and sort of how they speak, but similar vibes, similar words, similar cultures. Whereas someone like me going to like an Argentinian sort of locker room or clubhouse or whatever, it's not going to be the same. I think that matters a lot as well. So. I think it's language. I think it's also culture because I grew up in the culture, in that Puerto Rican culture. I got Dominican family and all that kind of stuff. And my wife's Mexican, so I got a little bit of that too. So I think all that helps.
Tremendous, absolutely tremendous. This is my favorite part of any interview I do. It's a fast five quick round. It's five quick questions, and you have as much time to answer them as you need. Are you ready?
I guess so. I better be.
All right. So the first one is, what is your ultimate favorite MLB ballpark?
Oh, um, Petco Park.
I haven't been there. I hear it's tremendous. Second one is, if you could host a podcast with anyone in your phone, who would you choose and why?
Anyone in my phone? Now I gotta think about who in my phone. This is gonna be like humble brag moment here, but anybody in my phone. Oof, whoever I gotta look through my phone. Host a podcast. Quick. Oh man.
It's
Uh,
a tough one.
Actually, I'll say this. John Wall just started a podcast, and he seems to be pretty good at it.
Okay.
Doing a podcast with John Wall, who's like apparently I don't know if he's retired yet or not, but I would like to do one with John. John was good people, so um, that would be fun. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Favorite TV show to binge?
Favorite TV show to binge? I'm not a big TV guy. My wife gets mad at me about that. She loves watching television. I'm actually binging Abbott Elementary right now, and I really enjoy it.
Okay. Go-to
Yeah.
snack.
Go to snack. Plantain chips.
Those are good. And
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
mentioned you have new goals. Obviously, every career path you go on. What is one goal that you have this year?
My one goal this year is to really get to, know the teams, the New York teams really well, build sources, being able to break news, and when I cannot break news, confirm it and provide the context necessary for, our consumers, whether it's, where they're reading it, watching us, listening, whatever it may be. That's my goal is to get really entrenched there and just build the base in New York.
Then, Jorge, the last question I have for you. If a 15-year-old kid walked up to you right now and said, "Why should I become a fan of baseball?" What would you say to them?
I would say that baseball is it's a sport that offers so many. I don't know. I have so many memories watching baseball growing up with my father, with family members, playing the game. I loved playing the game. I wasn't very good. I played through high school, whatever your average.
What positions?
I was mostly third base.
Okay.
I played a little first base, but mostly third catcher. So I did some catcher growing up, but um, it just I just love the game. It's going to a ballpark is just super fun. It's relaxing. You can get the stereotypical, obvious. You get yourself a hot dog. If you're of age, you get yourself a beer. It's so the game of baseball. It's a great game, and I know younger people nowadays, whatever we hear all the time about baseball, this and that and the other thing, but baseball is a unique game that brings a lot of different people together. That's something that I love about it as well. We're here talking. You're asking me about being Puerto Rican and my culture, and someone from Nebraska, someone from the Dominican Republic, someone from Japan. We all center around this game that we all love, and I think that's really important. especially nowadays. So it's great to see, and the game of baseball just provides tons of memories. Going to the ballpark, you can't beat going to the ballpark and just get in there and watching a baseball game. So that's what I would tell a 15-year-old kid. I would even go younger. I make sure I get them younger, 8 years old and the seven. Hey, get to a ballpark, get to know the sport, and trust me, it's a game that you can grow with. You grow old with. I think some sports kind of come and go. Baseball's, you see, grandkids and their grandfathers and grandparents, and that's another part of baseball that I really love is it's been around for a very long time. The history of it is awesome, and it's a sport you can grow old with.
It's like the quote from Field of Dreams: "The baseball is the one constant in our lives."
Exactly. That's the other thing. Hey, every single night during the summer, when I was growing up, every night, summer vacation, every night I was watching baseball. It was awesome. It was great.